Ashton Jeanty finally reveals why he changed his running back stance. The Raiders to have joint practice with the Santa Clara 49ers. Bech could be the wide receiver one going into the regular season. And the Raiders dominate the off season. Yo, what is up, Raidernation? It's your boy Simone Raider back at it again with yet another video. If this is the very first time you guys are coming across this channel and you love Raiders content, then hit that subscribe button, hit that notification icon button just to notify you guys when I upload more videos just like this. Now, first things first, I want to talk about Ashton Jeanty. Now, we know that the rookie premiere was just this past weekend, and we finally got to see Bech and even Ashton Jeanty in the silver and black for the very first time, and I can definitely tell you that I'm pretty hyped up about this team moving forward, especially with the rookies that we have coming on board. The preseason can't come soon enough. But it seems like the Raider Nation aren't the only ones excited about all of this, because Ashton Jeanty looked really excited as well when he finally got to see his jersey for the first time, even putting it on. We got to see him kind of interact with a lot of other people, do a couple of interviews out there, and even do a bit of a reaction test, seeing how well he does. And I'll say that he did pretty good. Not the best, but good enough. Now, the main reason why I'm bringing this all up is because Ashton Jeanty got to do a little bit of a sit-down one-on-one with K. Adams, and we finally find out why he changed his running back stance. If you guys don't already know, Ashton Jeanty was primarily known in college for his running back stance, just standing straight up and just still going out there and balling out. But this was first brought up on John Gruden's show when he had Ashton Jeanty on.
You have the most unique stance I have ever seen. Now, you got to come clean with me. Why are you so standing like straight up? Are you trying to see more? What is your straight up stance? I've never seen it.
Yeah, I mean it's nothing, you know.
Let me see it. Stand up. Show me that stance. Show these people. This is how you stand.
This is right here.
That has never happened in the history of football, man. Now, what are you going to do when you come to the NFL and somebody like Gruden says, "Nah, man, let's get lower"? What is this?
I'm going to do the same thing because I rushed for 2,600 yards, so you know, if it was a problem.
Are you just doing it for vision? Are you trying to see pre-snap maybe a little bit more?
No, I think I'm just, well, obviously I'm trying to scan the defense, and I feel like either way you can scan the defense, but I think the most important thing is being relaxed, like before the ball snaps. I know football is a violent game, but a lot happens in those few seconds of scanning the defense, right? You got to, you know, see what the linebackers are doing.
You're killing me, man. The coaches, now all the running backs are doing what you're doing. You know that, don't you? You set a trend.
Yeah, I did.
So after that, going into the NFL, there's questions on whether or not he was actually going to keep it or change it. And I feel like it was all going to depend on where he goes and what coaches are going to be there, you know, guiding him. And knowing John Gruden being an old-style head coach, he's a guy that didn't really understand it. But fast forward to now, he was asked about it again on the K. Adams show, and he basically said that Chip Kelly made him do it.
But I don't like what I'm seeing.
You know, sometimes you gotta, you know, go with the flow. What's crazy is, man, Chip Kelly, he comes to me the first day of rookie minicamp. He like, you play basketball? Like, you ever play basketball? I'm like, yeah, I played basketball. Like, you know, I could dunk, all that. He's like, okay. He was like, show me how you would guard me. Like, and he acting like he holding the ball.
Let's do this, get up.
He like, show me how you guard me. He holding the ball. Like, act like you holding the ball.
Okay, got it, yeah.
Then I'm like, I'm here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he was like, that's exactly why you got to be down in your running back stance.
No, you were so convicted.
I was,
and
but.
then he won? Just like that? That's all it took?
He won for now. I'm going to try to persuade him one day. I gotta earn my stripes, make some plays first, but I don't think it's gonna be.
Now, there are a lot of fans out there that kind of took this a little bit seriously, and I don't think it's that serious, to be honest with you guys. Yes, I understand, don't fix something that it isn't broken, but going into the NFL, you know, he's got to go out there and prove himself. It doesn't matter what he did in college, and Pete Carroll has attested to this. You got to come into the league and still prove yourself and prove your spot on the roster. And I'm sure that if he goes out there and he balls out and he becomes the running back that he was in college and becomes that star player on the Raiders, I'm more than sure, 99% sure that he's going to go right back to standing up. I think right now he's just got to prove himself, and he's just listening to the head coaches, listening to, you know, the offensive coordinator. And I know that Chip Kelly doesn't really have a good history with a lot of players, especially going back in the days. And I know Shady McCoy to look at the situation and be like, damn, this is why I don't like him.
Yo,
What's the first thing you think of Chip Kelly when you hear that name, bro?
trash.
Let's go.
But I do think that everybody should chill out. I don't think that it is a big deal. I'm more worried about Ashton Jeanty going out there and performing at a high level than about how his stance looks. Now, I know that other guys in the NFL, like Jahmyr Gibbs, is doing that same thing, but it took him some time to finally come into his own. And right now, he's one of those premier backs in the NFL, which I do expect Ashton Jeanty to become. But that wasn't the only thing that came out of the Kay Adams little interview. We finally got to hear a little story about how he got the number 2 jersey. And let's just say it wasn't cheap.
At that number 2.
Yeah, that dude's. It is.
Why are
Hey y'all, I didn't get this for free, man.
why
You
are
know,
we laughing?
cause I had to drop a little bag,
I would
man.
like to know how much. You can tell me.
I can't put that out. So yeah, I called him. I was like, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get that number 2. You know, I'm willing to negotiate. You know, whatever you're thinking. You know, I gave him what I was thinking. You know, first that he came back. You know, and I'm like, hey man, I gotta do it. You know, I gotta drop that little bag for number 2.
Like, are we talking? What's a little bit? Are we talking like college tuition? Like, what are we talking?
Yeah, it's up
Like a
up
Honda
there.
Accord? Like, what
Now-
can I buy for that? A brand new Lexus? What are we talking?
So you could probably buy a house, like a nice size house.
Where
Like
can I buy a house for what you spent in Vegas on the outskirts?
actually, no, I'm not gonna say a house, not Vegas. I'm gonna say a car, like a nice Mercedes. You could buy like a Mercedes
He
GLE. But he was cool about it. But the good thing as well with it is some of the money is gonna be given to charity as well. So
Now it's kind of crazy because Kay Adams, her reputation is kind of all over the place. And you could definitely tell she was instigating, trying to find an answer, trying to find something, trying to find a headline. And I feel like that's where a lot of people are just annoyed by her, because every time she interviews one of these players, she's always trying to get a scoop on them. She's always trying to get a headline. And you know what? I can't blame her. It's her job to go out there and get those stories and just get those interactions with these players. And I know it might not be everybody's cup of tea, but you know, me being in this industry, being in the content world, I understand where she's coming from. And hey, this is something that we all wanted to know. And it's funny to hear that, you know what, the rookie had to pay up to get that number 2 jersey, especially knowing Daniel Carlson and knowing his status on the team. I mean, Carlson is one of the best kickers in the NFL. 6 figures is, I would say, more than enough to switch your number, and Daniel Carlson goes right back to that number 8 jersey. I just hope that Ashton Jeanty makes a really good name out of that number 2 jersey. We know the history with number 2. It really ain't all that. Other than Daniel Carlson, I think Daniel Carlson is definitely the best player so far to wear the number 2 jersey, but I hope and I pray that Ashton Jeanty just supersedes all of the expectations we have for him going into the NFL. We had guys like Aaron Brooks, Jamarcus Russell, Terrell Pryor. Those didn't really pan out for us, but I do expect some great things from Ashton Jeanty. Now I want to talk about the other Raider rookie that was over there at the premiere, our 2nd round pick, and Jack Bech. Now I know that we didn't really get to see too much of him over there. I didn't really see a lot of clips, or it's probably somewhere out there that I can't really find, but I can definitely say that he does look fresh in this picture right here. I think anybody that wears the silver and black looks fresh. But one thing coming out of this, there was an article by Tashawn Reed in The Athletic that said that Jack Bech is on pace to becoming the day 1 starter for the Raiders at the wide receiver position. Reed went on to say that Bech was consistently open on Friday. His best plays came towards the end of practice when he hauled in several deep balls during 11-on-11 drills that would have been touchdowns. We don't know whether he'll spend most of his time outside or in the slot, but he'll definitely be a day 1 starter if he keeps up on this pace. Vinny B also added to that, saying that in terms of total targets, I think it'll be Bowers, Myers, and Bech. Now, this was definitely some high praise, especially from reporters that are actually at those practices and actually gets to see a little bit of what they do. And I think that Jack Bech, he's been seen really high and been viewed as one of those top receivers, especially for this team. I mean, that's the whole reason why he was drafted early in the 2nd, or late in the 2nd round, but early in the draft. I think the sky's the limit for him, and he does seem like a guy that's going to be one of those underrated wide receivers in the NFL, and definitely going to be a guy that I can definitely see end up being a wide receiver 1. Of course, he's going to have to work his way up there, but he's definitely going to get the targets. But just to see that people are already putting him in the same breath as Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers as somebody that could get a lot of targets means that he's doing something right. But since we're talking about the preseason, I want to talk about the Raiders preseason and the news that came out just yesterday. According to Vic Tafur, 49ers at Raiders preseason game now scheduled for August 16th at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and it's expected that they will have a one-day joint practice on the 14th. Now, the Raiders have been doing this for the past couple of years. We always seem to play the Niners in preseason, and I think the last year and the last 2 years, we've had the Niners come over here and at least have that one joint practice. Now, there's a lot of speculations going around because we know that Pete Carroll doesn't really like joint practices, but I don't know if he has a say into saying we're not going to do it. But the expectations right now is that the Raiders and the Niners will have a joint practice going into that game. And I think it's going to be interesting, especially for not only the new pickups that we had in free agency, but also the rookies that we brought in. One thing's for sure, though, I'm going to be at that game, that preseason game, and I know I'm going to be hyped up, even though it's preseason. But anytime we get to play the Niners, it's always going to be one of those games that at the end of the day, whoever wins gets the bragging rights. And I know last year we didn't get bragging rights because it was a tie. But this year, I just hope that we could beat them and at least we can have some bragging rights against them and just annoy their fan base. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is the Raiders offseason in general. Now, we know that the Raiders killed the draft, and we know that we've been getting a lot of praise for that. But according to Bleacher Report, they actually gave the Raiders a really great grade for the offseason in whole, from free agency to all the moves that we made to the NFL draft, which is something that we don't really get to see every single offseason. So I definitely wanted to go over that. Now, according to Bleacher Report, the Raiders received an A- grade for their offseason. Some key additions and re-signings for the Raiders was first going out and trading for quarterback Geno Smith, extending Max Crosby, signing Jeremy Chin, Eric Stokes, and even linebacker Elandon Roberts to some team-friendly deals. Now, going into the draft, the biggest additions for the Raiders was obviously running back Ashton Jeanty in the first round, getting wide receiver Bech in the second round, Darian Porter in the third round, and adding Charles Grant and Caleb Rogers, which I feel like I said earlier, the Raiders went 3 for 3 in those first 3 rounds. Then you look at the key departures for the Raiders. Losing Trayvon Merrick was huge. Of course, I voiced my opinions on that. Losing Nate Hobbs, I was like, okay, that was, we kind of seen that coming. And then also losing linebacker Robert Spillane, which was huge for the Raiders. But I think that they did a great job at replacing him by bringing Elandon Roberts in. Now, they gave the Raiders free agency and trade grade a B-. Not really the highest grade, but it could be worse. But when it comes to the NFL draft, they gave the Raiders an A+, which is huge for this team. Now, I know that it really doesn't matter how it looks on paper because, yes, the draft looks good. But the most important thing is what these draft picks do when they finally put on the silver and black. So I think the expectations are going to be really high. And I do have a strong feeling that the new draft class is definitely going to live up to that hype, especially under Pete Carroll and John Spytek. Overall, the Raiders get a solid A- for this, and they go on to say that it's hard to know what sort of window the Las Vegas Raiders have with a 73-year-old head coach and Pete Carroll. However, it's easy to think that the Las Vegas Raiders can field a competitive team this season and over the next few. Having won both Super Bowl and national championship, Carroll has achieved more coaching success than any head coach that the Raiders have employed this century. And that's absolutely true. And that's why I feel like going into this new season with this new regime, it just feels a little bit different. We haven't had a quarterback since Derek Carr that at least seemed like a viable option at the position. Then you add to that the experience that we have under Pete Carroll, and then the mind that you have with John Spytek, and with the draft picks that we did have, going out and getting the best players available that fit this system. Also going into free agency and bringing in players that basically replace the players that we lost, but for a better value. So overall, everything looks great on paper. My expectations are not high this season because I always end up having high expectations just for it to be shot down right during the season. So I feel like the Raiders at best can come away with 9 wins on the season, and at that I'd be totally happy with that. Maybe sneaking into a wild card spot somewhere in there. I think as long as the Raiders look competitive in every single one of their games, whether they win or lose, I think that's a step forward in the right direction, especially changing the culture and everything else in general. But Raider Nation, how do you feel about the offseason so far? What grade would you give this team? Do you agree in giving the Raiders an A-? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Until the next video, this is your boy Simone Raider and your boys, yeah.